The Imperium has destroyed countless alien civilizations, but the Hrud are not a species that can be defeated through a single invasion. They do not build obvious empires, defend shining capitals, or gather their fleets where Imperial commanders can find them. They hide beneath inhabited worlds, inside forgotten tunnels, ruined stations, and places no one thinks to search. By the time the Imperium realizes they are present, the damage has often already begun. The Hrud are wrapped in filthy cloaks and surrounded by a strange distortion that makes their true appearance difficult to perceive. But their greatest weapon is not their bodies or their guns. It is the field of entropic energy that surrounds them. Anything exposed to a large Hrud migration begins to age at an impossible rate. Metal rusts, weapons fail, armor cracks, food rots. Human skin dries and wrinkles within minutes. Soldiers can enter battle as young men and collapse moments later with the bodies of the elderly. This makes ordinary warfare almost useless. An Imperial regiment may still outnumber the Hrud, but its vehicles begin breaking down before they reach the enemy. Ammunition degrades inside storage crates, defensive walls weaken. Even Space Marines can suffer as centuries of biological decay are forced upon their enhanced bodies. During the Great Crusade, the Iron Warriors fought a massive Hrud migration in the Saktrada deeps. The campaign became a nightmare. Entire battle groups were aged by the Xenos presence, while machinery that should have lasted for centuries failed in a fraction of that time. The Imperium could kill thousands of Hrud and still lose, because the survivors simply moved elsewhere and carried the same temporal destruction with them. This is the key to their survival. The Hrud do not always defend territory. When threatened, they migrate. Billions can emerge from hidden warrens and spread toward neighboring systems, overwhelming worlds not through formal conquest, but through mass movement. Every planet they cross becomes older, weaker, and harder to defend. The Imperium has launched major campaigns to purge them, including widespread operations involving Space Marines and the Astra Militarum. Yet every victory has been temporary. Destroying one infestation does not reveal how many others remain beneath forgotten cities or abandoned industrial zones. The Hrud are terrifying because they do not need to defeat the Imperium in battle. They only need to remain nearby. A fortress can be rebuilt after an attack. An army can be reinforced after a defeat. But when time itself becomes the enemy, the Imperium has no weapon capable of restoring what has been lost. The Hrud survive because every attempt to erase them forces humanity to fight not only an alien species, but the slow death of everything it brings to war. The Sloth are one of the most disturbing Xenos species ever encountered by the Imperium, not because they command enormous armies, but because they rarely need to. They prefer to remain hidden, manipulating human societies from the shadows while feeding on the dead and using entire populations as disposable tools. A sloth does not resemble any normal living creature. Its body appears to be formed from thousands of pale, writhing worms held together beneath a robe-like mass. When it moves, the individual creatures inside its form shift constantly, making it difficult to understand where one organism ends and another begins. They communicate through strange devices rather than ordinary speech, and their minds are almost impossible for human psykers to read. This makes them extremely difficult to detect. An inquisitor may sense corruption, fear, or conspiracy across an entire world without realizing that the true enemy is standing only a few meters away. The Sloth often operate through human agents. Criminal organizations, corrupt nobles, military officers, and political leaders can all become their servants. Some cooperate willingly in exchange for power. Others are controlled through fear, chemicals, or technology implanted directly into their bodies. By the time the Imperium discovers a Sloth conspiracy, the aliens may already have influenced the government, military, and economy of the target world. Arresting one traitor does not solve the problem, because dozens more may remain hidden. Destroying one cell may only warn the Sloth that it is time to disappear. Their technology is equally dangerous. Sloth weapons can reduce living targets to ruined organic matter. while their vessels move with an efficiency that Imperial science struggles to explain. They also use biomechanical servants and constructs assembled from dead flesh, turning the remains of their victims into tools of war. The Sloth have been linked to some of the darkest conflicts in Imperial history, including secret wars fought long before the Horus Heresy. Human authorities have attempted to contain or eliminate their influence, but these campaigns rarely achieve complete success. The Sloth do not fight like a conventional species. They retreat, abandon compromised agents, and rebuild their networks somewhere else. This is why the Imperium has never truly erased them. There is no known Sloth homeworld to bombard, no capital to invade, and no central empire to destroy. Their strength lies in secrecy. A Tyranid fleet can be seen approaching. A Necron tomb can be located. But the Sloth may already be inside an Imperial palace, directing decisions through a human ruler who believes he still controls his own world. The Imperium fears them because every victory may be false. A captured agent may know nothing. A destroyed base may have been deliberately sacrificed. Even the investigators hunting them can never be certain that the people beside them are still human, or that the enemy has not been guiding the investigation from the beginning. The Imperium can prepare for an invasion fleet. It can fortify planets, mobilize armies, and bombard an enemy before it reaches the surface. But the Enslavers do not need ships to invade. They enter through the minds of psykers, turning the very people humanity depends upon into gateways for something waiting inside the warp. Enslavers are powerful warp predators, capable of dominating the minds of living creatures. Their influence begins quietly. A vulnerable psyker may experience nightmares, confusion, or strange compulsions. Then the creature takes control, forcing its victim to build, hide, and prepare for the arrival of more enslavers. The possessed psyker becomes a living portal. When the process is complete, the victim's body is destroyed as an enslaver emerges into real space. From there, it can seize additional minds and expand the infestation. One compromised psyker can become the beginning of a planetary disaster before local authorities understand that an invasion has started. This makes Imperial worlds especially vulnerable. The Imperium depends on psykers for communication, navigation, warfare, and administration. Astropaths transmit messages between stars. Sanctioned psykers serve alongside armies. Navigators guide ships through the warp. Every one of them is valuable, and every one may become a door. Once an outbreak spreads, ordinary command structures can collapse from within. Officers turn their weapons on loyal soldiers. Workers sabotage defensive systems. Entire populations can be psychically enslaved and forced to protect the creatures controlling them. Imperial forces may arrive to purge the infestation, only to discover that every civilian, soldier, and official on the planet has become part of the enemy's network. The Enslavers are not a new threat. In the ancient past, a massive outbreak known as the Enslaver Plague devastated the galaxy during the final era of the War in Heaven. The psychic turmoil created by that conflict allowed warp entities to spread through exhausted civilizations, contributing to the destruction of powers far older and more advanced than humanity. The Imperium has fought smaller outbreaks in later ages, but even specialized operations can end in catastrophe. Operation Kronos became a disastrous Imperial battle against an enslaver infestation, demonstrating how quickly containment can fail once the creatures gain access to enough minds. Destroying the visible enslavers may not end the threat. Hidden victims can remain under psychic control, waiting to open another gateway. A world declared secure may already contain the beginning of the next outbreak. The Imperium has never erased the Enslavers, because their true homeland is not a planet that can be bombarded. They exist within the warp, beyond the reach of conventional crusades. Humanity can close one gateway, burn one infected world, and execute every compromised psyker it finds. But as long as mankind continues to use psychic power, the door can always open again. The Rak'Gol are not an ancient empire waiting inside forgotten tombs, nor a hidden civilization controlling humanity from the shadows. They are raiders, violent, relentless, and almost impossible to negotiate with. Across the Coronis expanse, their arrival is treated less like an invasion and more like the appearance of a natural disaster. Rak'Gol are massive reptilian Xenos with multiple limbs, powerful bodies, and a frightening tolerance for pain. Their appearance leads many Imperial survivors to describe them as animals, but this is dangerously misleading. They possess language, construct void ships, operate advanced weapons, and coordinate complex attacks. Their brutality is not evidence of stupidity. It is a deliberate part of their culture and warfare. When Rak'Gol ships locate an Imperial vessel, they rarely attempt to demand surrender. They close the distance, damage the engines, and launch boarding parties directly into the hull. Their warriors move through corridors with brutal speed, tearing apart defenders before they can establish firing lines. Civilians are not spared, and prisoners are often taken for purposes the Imperium has never fully understood. Their bodies are frequently altered with crude cybernetic implants. Metal limbs, armored plates, weapon mounts, and mechanical organs are forced into living flesh, with little concern for pain or appearance. A wounded Rak'Gol may return stronger than before, rebuilt into something that is no longer completely organic, but still driven by the same violent instincts. Their weapons are equally disturbing. Rad axes and irradiated firearms contaminate whatever they strike, while their ships are built around heavy armor, dangerous reactors, and direct assault tactics. Even when an Imperial crew defeats the boarders, radiation and structural damage may leave the vessel impossible to save. The Rak'Gol have also shown an obsession with ancient Yuvath technology. Their techno-shamans search ruins, recover forbidden devices, and integrate alien relics into their own machinery. Imperial authorities do not know how much of this technology the Rak'Gol understand, or what might happen if they uncover a weapon left behind by a civilization already associated with corruption and warp-tainted power. The Imperium has offered rewards for discovering the origin of the Rak'Gol so that their home territory can be attacked, yet no confirmed homeworld has been found. Their vessels appear from poorly charted regions, strike isolated settlements and shipping routes, then disappear before a large fleet can respond. That is why humanity has never erased them. There is no capital to bombard and no government to force into submission. Destroying one raiding fleet only removes the warriors visible today. Another ship may emerge months later from a completely different direction. The Rak'Gol survive because they treat the darkness between Imperial worlds as their hunting ground. The Imperium may control the planets, but between those planets lie millions of kilometers of empty space where no patrol can watch every route. And somewhere inside that darkness, another Rak'Gol vessel is already searching for prey. The Khrave are not conquerors in the way the Imperium understands conquest. They do not need to land millions of soldiers, surround cities, or destroy defensive lines. Their greatest weapon is the mind, and once they gain control of it, an entire world can begin serving them without realizing an invasion has taken place. Known in some Imperial records as mind-eaters, the Khrave are an ancient psychic species capable of controlling living beings across enormous distances. Their influence can spread through rulers, officers, soldiers, and ordinary civilians, creating networks of slaves who still look and behave human until the Khrave decide otherwise. A governor may continue issuing orders from his palace while secretly obeying an alien master. An admiral may redirect a fleet away from the real threat. A priest may silence witnesses by declaring them heretics. By the time the Imperium recognizes the pattern, the enemy may already control the institutions responsible for organizing resistance. The Khrave do not simply dominate minds, they feed upon them. Fear, memory, intelligence, and personality can all become resources to be consumed. Victims may remain alive while parts of their identity are stripped away, leaving behind obedient bodies with little of the original person still present. This makes every counterattack dangerous. Imperial forces cannot trust local intelligence, military transmissions, or even the commanders standing beside them. A defensive plan may already be known to the Khrave, because one of the officers who created it belongs to their psychic network. Some Khrave operate through powerful root minds connected to lesser slave organisms. Destroying individual servants may accomplish little if the controlling consciousness survives elsewhere. The enemy can abandon compromised bodies, seize new hosts, and rebuild its influence inside another settlement or ship. During the Great Crusade, Imperial forces fought Khrave across multiple systems. On Sarik 17, the World Eaters succeeded in exterminating a Khrave presence where earlier attempts had failed. But such victories never proved the species had been destroyed elsewhere. The Dark Angels also encountered an ancient Khrave progenitor known as the Autochthonar. Its connection to the wider species was so strong that the deaths of large numbers of Khrave sent psychic feedback through the network and physically affected it. That connection is both a weakness and a warning. It suggests that the Khrave are not merely scattered predators, but parts of a much older psychic structure whose full size remains unknown. The Imperium has never erased them because it cannot be certain where they are. There is no confirmed empire to invade, no visible border to cross, and no reliable method of identifying every controlled human. A Tyranid swarm announces itself with living ships. A Necron dynasty awakens beneath a world. The Khrave may arrive as a thought inside one important mind, and by the time humanity understands that the thought was not its own, the war may already be over. The Barghesi are so dangerous that the Imperium does not merely fight them, it tries to keep them imprisoned inside a region of space, and desperately prevents the Tyranids from reaching them. Almost nothing is known about their biology, culture, or true military strength. Imperial records describe them as an exceptionally aggressive and violent intelligent species, confined within the Grendel stars on the eastern fringe. The lack of detailed information does not make them less frightening. It suggests that many who encountered them did not survive long enough to produce reliable reports. Humanity first fought the Barghesi during the Great Crusade. Even at the height of Imperial expansion, when the Emperor's armies were conquering entire systems, the species proved extraordinarily difficult to destroy. One Barghesi assault almost annihilated the Brotherhood of the Forsworn, a force associated with the White Scars. The Imperium survived the encounter, but it failed to erase the enemy. In later millennia, the Iron Lord's Space Marine chapter became essential to containing the Barghesi within the Grendel stars. This was not a normal occupation. The region became something closer to a sealed cage, watched by warriors whose duty was to ensure that the creatures inside did not spread into surrounding Imperial space. But containment became even more urgent when Hive Fleet Kraken approached the region. The Tyranids do not simply kill alien species. They absorb useful biological material and transform it into new organisms. Every powerful adaptation they consume can become part of future bioforms. Imperial authorities feared that if the Tyranids reached the Barghesi, they might harvest whatever makes the species so destructive and add it to the hive mind's arsenal. The Iron Lords, therefore, had to defend the prison from the outside, while still preventing its inhabitants from escaping. That creates a nightmare with no safe solution. If the Imperium attacks the Barghesi directly, it risks enormous losses and may weaken the forces containing them. If it abandons the Grendel stars, the creatures may spread. If the Tyranids break through, the galaxy could face new bioforms created from a species the Imperium already considers almost impossible to eliminate. The Barghesi survive because humanity cannot destroy them cheaply, cannot ignore them safely, and cannot allow anyone else to claim their biological power. Most Xenos wars end when one side conquers the enemy's worlds. The conflict around the Grendel stars has no such ending. The Imperium has spent thousands of years standing outside the cage, fighting anything that approaches it, while knowing that the creatures trapped inside remain alive. The Barghesi are not evidence of an Imperial victory. They are evidence of a problem humanity has only managed to postpone. The Imperium has destroyed Necron armies, shattered tomb complexes, and burned awakening worlds from orbit. Yet none of these victories has brought humanity close to erasing the species. The Necrons are not concentrated inside one empire that can be invaded. Their forces have been sleeping beneath planets across the galaxy for millions of years, hidden below Imperial cities, mining colonies, deserts, and worlds believed to contain no intelligent life. A Necron invasion can begin without an approaching fleet. Ancient machinery activates beneath the surface. Power returns to corridors buried deeper than human settlements. Canoptek constructs begin repairing damaged systems, while sealed chambers open and release ranks of metallic warriors. By the time the Imperium understands that it has colonized a tomb world, the planet may already be returning to its original rulers. Destroying those warriors is far harder than killing ordinary soldiers. Necron bodies are made from self-repairing, living metal, and their reanimation systems can restore damaged troops that appeared completely destroyed. Severed limbs reconnect, ruined bodies rise again. Warriors too badly damaged to continue fighting can be transported away and repaired, somewhere beyond the reach of Imperial forces. This means that even a battlefield victory may accomplish very little. The Imperium can lose thousands of soldiers destroying the same enemy repeatedly, while the tomb world beneath them continues awakening additional reserves. Unless the entire complex is located and eliminated, the Necrons can return after the Imperial army believes the campaign is over. Their technology makes a complete purge even less likely. Necron weapons can strip matter apart, their portals allow forces to appear without conventional transport, and their machines can repair fortifications while defenders are still fighting inside them. Some tomb worlds possess systems capable of suppressing the warp, manipulating time, or unleashing weapons created when humanity's ancestors had not yet evolved. The Necrons are also divided into dynasties, which prevents the Imperium from defeating them through one decisive war. Destroying one ruler does not force the others to surrender. One dynasty may remain dormant, while another begins conquering nearby systems. Some fight each other, but even those conflicts can awaken more armies and expose more tomb worlds. The greatest problem is that humanity does not know how many still remain asleep. Every Imperial map may hide another buried dynasty. Every newly settled planet may contain vaults waiting for the correct signal. The Great Sleep allowed the Necrons to outlast ancient enemies and return only after younger civilizations had spread across their former domains. The Imperium has failed to erase the Necrons because it is not fighting a single invasion. It is standing on top of an empire that never truly disappeared. Humanity believes it owns 1,000,000 worlds. The Necrons may simply be waiting beneath them, allowing the temporary occupants to build cities above their graves before they rise to reclaim everything. The Tyranids are not a civilization the Imperium can conquer. They have no capital, no rulers who can be forced to surrender, and no population that can be frightened into obedience. They are an intergalactic swarm controlled by the hive mind, a vast intelligence whose only purpose is to consume organic matter, create new organisms, and continue feeding. Every Tyranid invasion begins with hunger. Hive ships enter a system and release living weapons designed for every stage of planetary consumption. Genestealer cults may have already weakened the world from within. Swarms overwhelm defensive lines, while larger bioforms destroy fortresses, armor, and anything capable of resisting. When the fighting ends, the Tyranids do not occupy the planet. They digest it. Bodies, forests, oceans, microorganisms, and useful minerals are broken down and drawn into enormous reclamation pools. The material is absorbed by the hive fleet and recycled into fresh warriors, ships, and specialized organisms. Every world they consume gives them more resources for the next invasion. The Imperium has defeated individual hive fleets before. Behemoth was shattered at Macragge. Kraken was divided and slowed. Leviathan suffered devastating losses at Baal and Octarius. But destroying one tendril does not destroy the species. Surviving splinter fleets scatter, feed on weaker worlds, and begin growing again. Worse, the hive mind adapts. When one type of organism fails, future swarms can arrive with new biological weapons, stronger armor, or creatures developed specifically to overcome the resistance that stopped them before. Imperial victories teach the enemy how to become more dangerous. Inquisitor Cryptman attempted a solution as brutal as the threat itself. He ordered inhabited worlds destroyed ahead of Hive Fleet Leviathan, creating a cordon of dead systems that offered the Tyranids no biomass. He later diverted part of the fleet into the Orc Empire of Octarius, hoping both enemies would destroy one another. The plan failed to eliminate either side. The conflict became an enormous feeding ground, where constant warfare forced the Tyranids to adapt, while the Orcs grew stronger through battle. Leviathan was slowed, but never stopped. The greatest warning came when Leviathan appeared from the western side of the galaxy, opening a potential route toward Terra. The Imperium had spent centuries watching the eastern approaches, believing it understood where the Tyranids were coming from. The new assault proved that the swarm could surround the galaxy from directions humanity had not prepared to defend. The Imperium cannot erase the Tyranids, because every victory destroys only the creatures currently visible. Beyond them remain more ships, more tendrils, and more organisms waiting to be created. Humanity fights to protect worlds. The Tyranids see those worlds only as food, and as long as even one hive fleet survives, the hunger continues.